Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Revisiting Disney. This is the series in which you guys pick out an attraction that you want me to revisit, and I play sort of Imagineer for a day and talk about what I would do to redesign it or refurbish it or completely replace it. And as you could guess by the background here, this week we're going to be taking a look and revisiting Splash Mountain here in the Magic Kingdom. Now, this is another really classic ride, so I have to be really careful with what I say. But, you know, some of these revisitings I kind of want to see the changes happen. Some of them I don't, but I do it for fun anyway. This is sort of like in the middle ground. Like, if it had changed, I guess I wouldn't really mind that much. But if it didn't, I also really wouldn't mind. I really enjoy the ride as it is. And I was really trying to think of how I would do this differently, because I feel like I fall into the trap where I do what I am actually most critical of when it comes to Bob Iger, which is I feel like I depend too much on other IPs that Disney owns and you know, sort of makes content with, whether it's like Marvel or Pixar or things like that. So I figured today I would sort of try and break the mold, maybe not completely, but a little bit, with this revisiting. So you've got this classic log flume ride that's sort of themed around Song of the South. It's named after Splash with the Tom Hanks movie. Really bizarre naming decision there by Michael Eisner. And it's in Frontierland, right? So if I was going to go ahead and revisit this attraction, I would obviously keep it frontier based, right? It's a log flume ride, and it'd be sort of, you'd be replacing the ride completely to take out the log flume aspect. So really it'd be a re-theming, taking out the Song of the South bit, maybe changing the name and giving it a new and fresh identity. And I think if you were to base it, you know, ideally, of course, it'd be something completely original, right? Something completely created and thought up by the Imagineers, but that doesn't make for a good video, because at the end of the day, what I perceive as like an original idea and what you do might be completely different. There's no basis there, right? So if maybe, how about a product like a property that's not a Disney property, but is a well-known property? And what about Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn? Now, I know Disney made a movie in the 90s with, what's his name, the Home Improvement kid, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, but it is not a Disney-owned property. But I do think it would fit really well with this. You know, you've got this sort of log flume idea. It's out in the West, or in the frontier at the very least. I think it'd be a cool way to sort of revitalize Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn as characters. I think, you know, they are not nearly as popular today as they were in the past, and that'd be really cool as a means of sort of bringing them back. You have all of these different scenes here, right? You know, there's these mini drops and these turns where you could set up different scenes, and I think that'd be a cool way to sort of tell a story of, you know, Tom and Huck getting into hijinks. The idea being they're doing it along, you know, maybe the Mississippi River, although I'm sure the Mississippi doesn't have all these ups and downs. But I think it would be a cool way of telling a story. It would keep that log flume concept. It would be based on something, so it is still familiar to people who, you know, have never ridden it before. It's a property that they would know and be able to call back on. It would be a property that I think would be revitalized for younger people who might not have heard of it before. You know, if you take this in hand with my Tom Sawyer's Island revisiting idea, where you re-themed that to like a miniature America, then there's no like overabundance of Tom Sawyer and Frontierland. You know, you keep it to one attraction, and it would give, I think, enough latitude to Imagineers to really play with it and have fun, because while it is a property that is known and they are characters that have been around before, it isn't based on any like one movie to the point where they'd sort of be forced as to how it's going to look or sound or what the characters are going to be doing. You really can have a lot of fun with it, and I think you can explore it a bit. Of course, I don't think this is the sort of change that you would see Disney make, just because, like I mentioned earlier, Tom and Huck, not really popular or like hot characters right now that everyone's talking about. I think for the longevity of the park, that wouldn't really matter, but I'm not the CEO of Disney, so who am I to speak? But I think it would be a lot of fun. I think the characters are witty enough, especially when you think of Mark Twain as a writer who is a pretty witty guy and a pretty witty writer, that you could get some really funny writing in here. You could get some great characterization, especially like all these interiors. I think a lot of people tend to forget, or at the very least I tend to forget, just how lengthy Splash Mountain is. You know, you think of a log flume, you might think of the beginning, you know, the big drop or the ending, but like there's so much stuff in between here that there's just a lot of room for Imagineers to play with. I don't know. What I would love to hear is what you guys think about this idea. Do you think it's a good idea? Maybe Tom and Huck's a great match. Maybe you think it's an awful match. Maybe you have a better match in mind. You know, here's another far out one had the movie been more successful. But what about a Lone Ranger based Splash Mountain? You still have the Wild West. You have, you know, the Lone Ranger and Tonto. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't comment on the quality of it. I just know that financially it didn't really pan out, so it's probably something you wouldn't really see Disney do. But there's another way you could tie it into a more modern and Disney-owned, you know, or Disney, you know, more modern, relevant IP. But there's just many ideas out there. So if you have an idea, throw it out there in the comments below. And if you have an idea for an attraction you would like to see me visit next, throw that out in the comments below too, because that's sort of how I base what I'm going to pick next time, is by what you guys suggest. Maybe it's a great idea, or maybe you all overwhelmingly vote for one idea over the other. If you want to throw out ideas more immediately, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at RobPlays on Twitter. Have a great week, everybody. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it, because it makes it that much better. And I hope to see you all next time for the next episode of Revisiting Disney. I really tried to stretch it out so it was right at the big drop, but we're gonna stick around for the drop. Ready? 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 Oh my gosh! Ah! Splash! Bye, everybody.